Welcome to month 4 of the Tech-Led track. Today we're tackling cross-functional leadership, stakeholder management, influence without authority, and conflict resolution. These are the skills that separate a senior individual contributor from a true tech lead. You can write excellent code and design elegant architectures, but if you can't navigate the people side of technical leadership, your impact will always be limited. By the end of this session, you'll have frameworks for mapping stakeholders, influencing decisions when you don't have formal authority, and resolving conflicts constructively. This isn't soft skills. This is how real technical decisions get made in organizations. Here's how the 4 hours break down. Hour 1 covers stakeholder management, mapping techniques, the power interest grid, and strategies for managing difficult stakeholders. Hour 2 is about influence without authority, frameworks, tactics, and practice scenarios where you'll apply what you've learned. Hours 3 and 4 focus on conflict resolution, cross-functional partnerships, and negotiation practice. Leadership as a tech lead is not about authority. You rarely have direct authority over the people and decisions that matter most. It's about influence. There you'll build the skills to navigate the human side of technical leadership, the part that no one teaches you in computer science, but everyone expects you to know. 5 objectives for today. First, map and manage complex stakeholder relationships effectively. Every project has stakeholders, and understanding who they are and what they need is the foundation of everything else. Second, influence decisions without direct authority using proven frameworks. You'll learn specific, repeatable tactics for getting buy-in. Third, navigate and resolve cross-team conflicts constructively. Conflict is inevitable. How you handle it defines your leadership. Fourth, build effective partnerships with product, design, and other functions. These relationships are the operating system of your effectiveness. And fifth, negotiate for resources, priorities, and technical decisions. Negotiation is not about winning. It's about finding outcomes that work for everyone. The power interest grid is your most practical tool for stakeholder management. It maps stakeholders along 2 dimensions: how much power they have over your project and how interested they are in it. This gives you 4 quadrants, each with a different engagement strategy. High power, high interest. These are your manage closely stakeholders. They need active engagement and co-creation. Think of your VP of engineering or your product director. They can make or break your project, and they care about the outcome. Keep them deeply involved. High power, low interest. Keep these stakeholders satisfied. They have influence but don't want to be in the details. Regular updates and no surprises. Think of a CTO who cares about outcomes but not implementation details. A quick status update saves you from a surprise escalation. Low power, high interest. Keep these stakeholders informed. They care about your work but can't directly affect it. Share progress and gather their feedback. Team members from adjacent teams or individual contributors who are affected by your decisions fall here. Low power, low interest. Monitor these stakeholders with minimal effort, but watch for changes. Someone in this quadrant today could move to high power tomorrow after a reorganization. A few critical tips. Always map first, act second. Identify your stakeholders before you start engaging. Missing one can derail a project late in the game. Visit your map regularly, power and interest shift, especially when org changes happen. And watch for hidden stakeholders. Security, compliance, SRE. These are teams that can block you late in the process if you don't engage them early. The most common mistake tech leads make is discovering a stakeholder after they've already become an obstacle. 4 tactics that work consistently for tech leads who need to influence without formal authority. First, data-driven influence. When you're dealing with analytical stakeholders, and in engineering, most stakeholders are analytical, let the numbers make the argument. Impact data, benchmarks, cost analysis. Instead of saying we should rewrite this service, say this service has caused 4 production incidents in the last quarter, each costing roughly 8 hours of engineering time. Here's the data. Numbers depersonalize the argument and make it about evidence, not opinion. Second, reciprocity. Help first, ask later. Give credit generously. Build a favor bank over time. This is a long game. When you consistently help other teams and share credit, people want to help you in return. It sounds simple, but most tech leads skip this because they're focused on their own team's deliverables. Third, coalition building. When you need collective weight behind a decision, align your allies before the meeting. If teams X and Y already agree with your approach, that changes the dynamic entirely. Present a unified front on decisions. Coalition building is especially powerful when you're proposing changes that affect multiple teams. Fourth, framing. How you present an idea determines how it's received. Say, this enables instead of this limits. Connect your proposal to stakeholder priorities. Reframe problems as opportunities. If a product manager cares about time to market, frame your technical proposal in terms of how it accelerates delivery, not how it reduces tech debt. There's a principle from Cohen and Bradford's work on influence. Think of influence as a currency exchange. Understand what the other person values and offer that in exchange for what you need. This is the core of influence without authority. There are 5 fundamental approaches to conflict, and the key skill is choosing the right one for each situation. Most tech leads default to competing or avoiding. The best ones have the full toolkit. Collaborating. Use this when the issue is important to both parties and you have time to work through it. This is the win-win approach. You work together to find a solution that satisfies both sides. It takes more time but produces the strongest outcomes and preserves relationships. Compromising. Use this when the issue is moderately important to both sides and you need a quick resolution. Each side gives something up. This is faster than collaborating, but the outcome is often good enough rather than optimal. Accommodating. Use this when the relationship is more important than the specific issue. You yield gracefully and build goodwill. This is a strategic choice, not weakness. Sometimes giving in on a small decision builds the trust you need for a bigger decision later. Competing. Use this for emergencies or ethical issues. When being right matters more than the relationship. A security vulnerability that needs to be fixed immediately. A decision that violates compliance requirements. Use this sparingly. Every time you compete, you spend relationship capital. Avoiding. Use this when the issue will resolve itself or when the cost of engaging in the conflict exceeds the benefit. Strategic withdrawal. Not every disagreement needs to be resolved. Sometimes the best move is to let it go. The key skill is matching the approach to the situation. Practice recognizing which approach is appropriate before you're in the heat of the moment. Let's walk through 3 scenarios that tech leads face regularly. Scenario 1. Product versus engineering tension. Product wants a feature shipped in 2 weeks. Engineering estimates 6 weeks with proper architecture. This is the classic scope timeline quality triangle. The skills you need here are framing, data-driven influence, and negotiation. Frame the conversation around risk, not just time. Show the data on what shortcuts cost in the long run. Negotiate for scope reduction rather than timeline compression or quality cuts. Scenario 2. Ownership conflict. 2 teams both claim ownership of the notification service. Duplicate work is happening. This requires collaboration, stakeholder mapping, and proposing clear boundaries. Map all the stakeholders involved. Understand why each team believes they own the service. Propose clear boundaries. Maybe one team owns the infrastructure and the other owns the business logic. The goal is clarity, not territory. Scenario 3. Resource competition. Another tech lead needs your best engineer for their critical project. Your project is also critical. This requires negotiation, coalition building, and creative problem solving. Can you share the engineer part-time? Can you stagger the timelines? Can you find an alternative resource? Avoid zero-sum thinking. The worst outcome is an escalation war where management decides. That usually means neither lead gets what they want. Create partnerships that define a tech lead's effectiveness. With product, your shared goal is shipping value to users. Understand their roadmap pressures. Offer technical options, not just no. When product comes with an aggressive timeline, don't just say it's impossible. Propose alternatives. We can't do the full feature in 2 weeks, but here's what we can ship that delivers 80% of the value. Co-own prioritization decisions and invest in regular one-on-ones to build the trust that makes hard conversations easier. With design, Your shared goal is a great user experience. The most effective thing you can do is involve engineering early in the design process. Share technical constraints upfront so designers don't fall in love with solutions that are technically impractical. Prototype together for complex features. And celebrate design wins as team wins. When the user experience is great, that's engineering success too. With other tech leads, your shared goal is a healthy engineering organization. Share learnings across teams. Coordinate on shared dependencies instead of discovering conflicts in production. Support each other in escalations. A united front of tech leads carries more weight than individuals. And avoid zero-sum thinking on resources. The engineering organization succeeds or fails together. There's a trust formula worth remembering. Credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-orientation. You build trust by being competent, following through, building genuine relationships, and lowering your self-orientation by genuinely caring about others' success. 4 deliverables, equally weighted at 25% each. First, a stakeholder map. Create a power interest grid for a real project you're working on. Include an engagement strategy for each quadrant. The best maps identify hidden stakeholders that others might miss. Second, an influence strategy document. Pick a real decision you need to influence and document your approach. Which tactics you use, which stakeholders you need to align, how you frame the proposal, and what objections you anticipate with your responses to each. Third, a conflict resolution playbook. This is personal to you. Identify your triggers, your preferred conflict styles, your blind spots, and your escalation criteria. Self-awareness is the foundation of effective conflict resolution. Fourth, a partnership proposal. Choose one cross-functional relationship you want to improve and create a concrete action plan. Specific actions, timelines, and success criteria. Demonstrate that you understand the other side's perspective and priorities.